A dreadful accident has happened at the Flannans. The three keepers, Ducat, Marshall, and the Occasional, have disappeared from the island. On our arrival there this afternoon, no sign of life was to be seen on the island. Fired a rocket, but as no response was made, managed to land more. We went up to the station, but found no keepers there. The clocks were stopped, and other signs indicated that the accident must have happened about a week ago. Poor fellows, they must have been blown over the cliffs or drowned trying to secure a crane or something like that. Night coming on, we could not wait to make something as to their fate. I have left Moore, MacDonald, Buoy Master, and 2 seamen on the island to keep the light burning until we make other arrangements. Will not return to Oban until I hear from you. I have repeated this wire to Muirhead in case you are not at home. I will remain at the telegraph office tonight, until it closes if you wish to wire me. Captain James Harvey. Lighthouses are set up to guide wary travelers from accidents that can make ships and their whole crews disappear seemingly off the face of the earth. But what happens when it's the lighthouse keepers who vanish from the world? The mystery of the Flannan Isles begins on the night of the 15th of December, 1900, when a ship named Fairwind broke through the vicinity of the islands. The crew had looked for the light to guide their way, yet nothing but darkness was seen from the tower. This made the sailors understandably upset and disturbed that no light emanated from the newly built Flannan Isles lighthouse. Sequentially, a steamer ship called Archer reported that they also witnessed no light when it docked at Oban in the United Kingdom, just 150 miles from the Flannan Isles. The authorities seemed to have felt that it was best to wait a few days since the lighthouse keeper's relief was scheduled to depart merely 5 days after the reported incident. The relief ship, the Hesperus, was due to set sail on the islands on the 20th of December. The captain of the ship, James Harvey, was tasked with delivering a relief lighthouse keeper as part of a regular rotation. He knew that it was almost unheard of for lighthouse keepers to halt their operations. It was said that during the short voyage to the islands he was restless, filled with unease, pacing on the deck and refusing to eat. The whole crew was reported to feel a sense of foreboding as they sailed towards the island, and when they finally arrived, things didn't get any better. Things were eerie on the Flannan Isle from the moment they set eyes upon it. There was no welcoming committee from the 3 men. No supply boxes had been put out to be restocked, and the flag wasn't on the flag staff. The Hesperus docked in silence, and Joseph Moore headed for the lighthouse, calling out as he headed towards it. There was no reply. As the now worried Joseph Moore stretched his search efforts into the actual lighthouse, they discovered more questions than answers. He found that the lamp's wicks were trimmed, the beds disheveled, and the dishes done. They had discovered that a chair was overturned in the kitchen, and that all the clocks in the lighthouse had all been stopped. It seemed as though they had left their safety of their workplace in a hurry sometime after dinner. What makes this stranger is what was missing from the lighthouse. The men investigating found that 2 sets of winter gear were taken and only 1 set of oilskins remained, which meant one of the men had gone into the cold winter air without their protective gear on. The only set of outdoor clothing which remained behind belonged to Donald MacArthur, who was an experienced sailor, well versed in how dangerous not having protective gear could be in the winter. While investigations were being conducted on the inside of the lighthouse, other men noticed severe damage to the outside as well. At the west dock, they found extraordinary damage. Iron railings were bent out of shape, and the iron rails by the path were completely wrenched out of the concrete. The conclusion was that the damage had been caused during a devastating storm, which is further proven by the last words we have recorded of the late Thomas Marshall, one of the missing lighthouse keepers. These entries come from his logbook, and they're what shook the world and still send shivers down many people's spines to this day. The last entries are as follows. December 12, gale north by northwest. Sea lashed to fury. Never seen such a storm. Waves very high. Tearing at lighthouse. Everything shipshape. James Ducat irritable. Storm still raging. Wind steady. Stormbound. Cannot go out. Ships passing, sounding foghorn. Could see lights of the cabins. Ducat quiet. Donald MacArthur crying. December 13. Storm continued through night. Wind shifted west by north. Ducat quiet. MacArthur praying. Noon. Gray daylight. Me, Ducat, and MacArthur prayed. On 14 December, there was no entry in the log. The final entry was made on a slate, which would have been transferred to a logbook later on. December 15, 1 p.m. Storm ended. Sea calm. God is over all. And if you remember, it was on the evening of the 15th that it was observed that the light hadn't been lit. So Thomas, MacArthur, and James must have disappeared sometime in the few hours between the last log entry and nightfall, so anywhere from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. they vanished. There was much controversy over the log entries, mostly due to the highly emotional tone. This was an official logbook, and the entries would have ordinarily been the bare bones of the daily running of the lighthouse. It's unknown what caused Thomas to write what he did down, but there are abnormalities in what was written. Firstly, Ducat was known to be a sensible, well-nurtured man. For Thomas to have written that he was irritable was strange, but not incredibly abnormal, as everyone has their bad days. However, the fact he remained silent the rest of the day to the point Thomas felt the need to put it in a logbook adds to the strange behavior. The next abnormality was the fact MacArthur was crying. According to reports, MacArthur was known to be a brawler and an old sea dog. It would almost be out of the question that a storm would reduce him to tears when he'd seen storms before, and the lighthouse they were in was brand new and reinforced. Now the final entry aroused some surprise, to say the least. Superintendent Muirhead, who was part of the official investigation into the disappearances, knew all these men personally, and said he never thought any of them as a particularly God-fearing or prone to prayer type. What really sets this mystery above the rest, though, is the weather reports at that time. There were no reported storms in the area on the 12th, 13th, and 14th of December. In fact, the weather was calm, and the storms that were to batter the island didn't hit until December 17th, at least 2 days after the lighthouse had gone dark. In the end, all we're left with is questions. Questions many have tried to answer, but with every answer comes dismissal, and, of course, another question. For one, if they had fallen out to sea, why had none of the bodies been washed ashore? Why had one of the men left the lighthouse without taking his gear, especially since this was the dead of winter? And why had 3 experienced lighthouse keepers been taken unaware by a wave when they sat comfortably 200 feet above sea level in a brand new lighthouse? Although these were all good questions, the most dire and strange question was around the weather conditions at the time. The seas should have been calm, according to local weather researchers. They were sure of this, as the lighthouse could still be seen from the nearby Isle of Lewis, and any bad weather would have obscured it from their view. Throughout the decades following the disappearances, other lighthouse keepers have stayed to watch over Flannan Isle. They've reported strange voices from the wind, calling out the names of the 3 dead men.
Thomas, James, Donald.
Perhaps the reason for the disappearance was that someone or something took them from this world. Sadly, all we have now are speculations for what happened to those men 100 years ago on that cold winter's day. I hope you enjoyed listening. If you did, then please leave a like and subscribe so I can go ahead and start making more. And for all of those who are curious out there, this is indeed a true story. Just know, not everything needs to be made up in this world. There are some honest-to-goodness, horrifying things out there that have happened and are completely unexplained. I hope you enjoy. Until next time.